This is just recording, and I'll be edited out
Perfect.
after and send it to you.
I'll give you guys shout-outs, too, of course. I'll probably make a blog out of it, too, honestly.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Jon&Jon Sports Radio Show here on 97.5 WNRC. John, we got a very special guest in the studio today, one Michael Pina, a former Nichols College quarterback and record holder and accomplisher. I mean, he's got a lot going on. He's got the QB Velocity business that he's got started with his father, and along with Slinging It with QB Velocity, the podcast. So, John, this is our competition, and we've invited him into the studio. So how do you feel about this?
Well, not regardless of the competition.
No, I'm joking
I
about
don't
the
know why you
competition.
started with that. Yeah.
He's not our competition.
No competition.
No.
This is a great guy to have on the show.
So
He's
excited.
a Nichols College guy, great quarterback, was a winner in high school, was a winner in college. We're glad to have you here, Mike. How you doing?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's good to finally get on here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we've been looking forward to it. We got a lot to talk about. Kind of starting with you've got quite a story, Mike. When it comes down to your whole career, coming through high school and then college. John, you've got some questions that you want to ask Mike?
I do want to start off with, so obviously a Brockton, Mass guy.
Yes, sir.
Played at Xavier and Brothers High School. Just tell me about that. What was the experience like? You played against some guys, you played with guys, you played under guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just give us a little rundown of that.
Yeah, man. So Xavier, I absolutely love Xavier. Love my experience there. Went there all 4 years of high school. One thing I loved about Xavier is that it was super competitive. That's where I really learned how to compete, and I learned my work ethic and just the grind overall. I mean, we have guys that are in the NBA, that have gone to the NBA, NHL, MLB, NFL. So it's a very high competitive culture when it comes to sports and the academics too. I mean, academics is a whole different standard there. So I was prepared once I came to college for academics and athletics. Overall, athletically, we had an awesome team. All 3 years when I was on varsity, we made the state championship all 3 years. Junior and senior, we won the state championship. Sophomore year, we made it, lost unfortunately, but it was an unbelievable ride.
Awesome. Now, I do have some questions. John gave me the rundown earlier and told me there was a guy that you were behind, your junior, sophomore, was he the quarterback sophomore year as well? Yes. So you're behind him. Why don't you give him his name and then who he is and where he is now? Yeah.
So Jake Farrell was the quarterback that started in front of me when I was a sophomore and junior. And the crazy thing is we had other quarterbacks other than Jake that could have also started if they were at other programs throughout the state. But Jake was an awesome quarterback. He was a true dual threat. Probably ran about a 4.6. Three-sport athlete: football, hockey, baseball. He ends up getting drafted by the Yankees. So, he's an awesome baseball player. Played first base at Northwestern. Hit above 300, I think, all 4 of his years. So,
wow.
Got hit against the Red Sox when they did their scrimmage preseason. So, Jake was a great guy to play behind. I learned a lot from him as far as leadership, as far as just playing the quarterback position, and he was definitely a great teammate.
Wow. And do you think experience like that as a player? Because I know for me as well, I think I could say this as well, but do you think that when you're a player and you've learned behind guys, that's helped you in your coaching career now? Just from those experiences, you're not learning from a coach, you're learning from another guy who's on the team. But that's still maybe things that you could use, and okay, I've kept that in the back of my pocket for the past 3, 4 years, 5 years, and now when it comes time to be a coach, oh yeah, I remember what this guy told me. It wasn't a coach, quarterback coach or anything like that.
Oh no, 100%, and that's always the type of guy I try to be like when I was a player too. I always wanted to pass on things to, younger guys like yourself and other guys in our team. So that's how I was as a player, and I think that's really translated well for me as a coach, because I'm able to, for QB Velocity and for Nichols, I'm able to use all these different experiences that I've had with different teammates, different coaches through all my different schools and everyone I've been around. So yeah, it's definitely something I'm able to apply.
So let's transition now into what happened after high school, because you've been through a couple different systems as well, a couple different schools, starting out with Western New England, going there. Tell me about your experience there before leaving to go to Mount Ida.
Yeah, for sure. So, my whole decision to go to Western New England is, they're right now, they're currently the 5-peat. So for me, coming out of high school, coming from a winning high school, I wanted to go to a school that was winning as well because I loved winning. I mean, I lost twice my whole high school career, so it was, something where.
Wow, that's a great.
Not
that
all
sounds
of
like
us are that lucky,
no,
I was
that's
gonna say,
just
but-
let you know.
Continue.
But that was definitely a motivating factor for me to go to Western New England. Is just I loved winning and I wanted to go keep on winning. So the coaching staff there was great, and Coach LeBeau, who's now the head coach, was a big factor for me going there. He recruited me coming out, and I ultimately decided to go there. As far as our team, we had a great year. We made the playoffs. We won a playoff game. Finished at 11-1. So it was a great year. Awesome part to be, experience to be a part of. But for me, that year I was pretty low in the depth chart for quarterback, but I was able to see the field through long snapping. So I was a starting long snapper, and I was able to make the travel roster for NCAA playoffs when there was only 53 guys that made the roster, and
That's
I was
awesome.
one of them as
That's
a
awesome.
freshman. From long snapping and making myself versatile, so that was a whole nother learning experience, and something I'm able to pass on to different guys I train and coach.
Did you get a chance to long snap in the playoff game?
I did.
How was that?
I did. It was awesome. It was electric.
Yeah.
It was electric. So first game in the playoffs, it was a home game against Husson. The crowd. Yeah, the crowd was crazy. The crowd was crazy that game, and it was a whole different atmosphere that I was lucky to be a part of. And second playoff game, we went up to Alfred University, New York, and
Wow.
that was a whole different experience. I've never been to that far upstate in New York. So,
How did that game go?
That game, it was a great game. I mean, went down right to the wire. It was we ended up losing 35-28, but
Wow.
went right down to the wire. I mean, we were in it the whole time. I only had one play. We only punted once.
Wow. That's
There you go.
sick. It's
I
worth
just-
the travel roster, right? I mean, you get to
100%.
see a good game.
Oh,
and,
I do want to just add that I think that's the best thing is if you can't be the guy to start at your position, find other ways to make the team, make
Exactly.
the roster, help your team in other ways.
John knows
And,
about
I
this,
mean,
yeah.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to make it on special teams. Just help the team in
That's
any
right.
way you can.
Yes.
Travel with the team. That's something you want to do.
Yes.
It's just an impact, and I do want to say you don't always see a quarterback playing the long snapping position. I thought
No,
you could have
not
said
at all.
holder
Yeah.
or PAT holder like
Yeah.
I'm
Sure,
talking about,
sure.
but long snapper that's definitely very versatile from a
Yeah.
quarterback.
Yeah, no, that's something that we really preach, like for QB velocity. We like to preach to our quarterbacks. I mean, most of the time, only one quarterback's gonna play the whole game. So you want to make yourself versatile if you love football and you want to help out the team and play. Make yourself versatile. Don't kind of be a snob and just stick the quarterback. That's always been my mentality through high school, college. I just want to help the team. Even at Nichols, when I was starting quarterback, I long snap a couple games too. So, it's what I like to preach.
Wow,
That's awesome. So from Western New England, evidently, I mean, you had mentioned it a little bit earlier, saying that you weren't in really high up on the depth chart
Yeah.
for quarterback, so that kind of sparks your decision to move on after your freshman year to Mount Ida. In which Mount Ida, you had a whole nother series of adventures there. Why don't
yeah.
you touch on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, so I transferred to Mount Ida my second semester, freshman year. A family friend who was the head coach there, Coach Michael Anders. He played high school ball with my uncle. My family has known him forever, so that was a big motivating factor for me to head to Mount Ida. He's a great guy, great coach. Mount Ida is right next to Boston, too, so it was a perfect location for my major, which was sport management, and I thought it was a great opportunity. So I went there, was able to be the starter my sophomore year, get some good game experience. So it was, something I wanted to do. I wanted to go play. Wanted to go play somewhere, and I mean, I loved Mount Ida, loved the team there, loved the coaches, and then out of nowhere in April is when we got the news that the school was shutting down. There was rumors. It got leaked on a Wednesday that the school was shutting down. It was rumors, and on Friday they made it official, and we got emails. I remember it was at 12 o'clock on a Friday. We got emailed saying that the school was getting bought out by UMass Amherst and
Wow.
shutting down. So it was a pretty devastating blow. Because Mount Ida, it was just kind of one big family there, kind of similar to Nichols, and it was devastating.
Yeah, and I do have some stats because I'm a stats guy. So not only does this guy go 12-0 in his only year starting as a quarterback in high school, goes to Mount Ida in his sophomore year, appears in all 10 games, completed 146 of 250 passes, threw for 1,500 passing yards and 9 touchdowns. Honestly, had a good season, especially as a sophomore. I'm not going to say he throws for 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns.
No, as a sophomore quarterback, man, that's a good experience. Do you remember any of the guys like that you had to compete against? Was there anybody older than you? What was that situation like in the quarterback room there versus Western New England?
Yeah, it was an interesting. It was a lot different than Western New England. I'll put it that way. At Western New England, we had about 7 quarterbacks that could have all started at many colleges throughout the country. But when I transferred to Mount Ida at first, I was going to compete with the starter from the previous year. So heading in there, I knew I wasn't getting anything handed to me, and I was ready to go compete and hopefully win the job. But the starter from the previous year, he ended up transferring. So for that spring ball, I was the only quarterback on the roster.
Wow!
So I took every single rep. It was tiring, but I got some good work in. And heading into camp for the fall season, there was 4 freshman quarterbacks that came in, and I knew I had to compete. It's playing the quarterback position is college football, so again in another competition, and I feel like I was able to solidify my position and become the full-time starter for the year.
And then from there, moving on to Nichols.
I just wanted to ask. Yeah, I know John just brought it up, but what goes into your head? What's the reason in choosing Nichols? You're not the only one who came over. Obviously, you had some other Mount Ida guys come with you. So what goes on in through your head there during that time?
Yeah, so there was about 20 of us that came over from Mount Ida to Nichols, and the big thing, like I was just mentioning, Mount Ida was just kind of one big family there, from football to the rest of campus, and that's what I think really sold us for Nichols, is that we got the same type of vibe here. And the way that Nichols was for not only the coaches and also admissions and everybody else, they were really welcoming towards Mount Ida students. They were willing to take all of our class credits, so that's what you want when you transfer, is you want somewhere that's going to take as many class credits as possible. So we were lucky enough to be able to come over and get all of our class credits in, and it just seemed like a good opportunity where both schools were similar in size as well. So a lot of similarities, and we really that was kind of what motivated us to come here.
Wow, that's awesome. And then now from here, I just kind of want to get into that's your whole playing career. We've gone through from high school to college and everywhere in between, but now you're a GA coach here with the Nichols college football program, and tell me a little bit about that. You're coaching up the receivers. I'll be watching film with you in the film room a little bit too. How is that overall, just interacting with players and now kind of transitioning into? Obviously, I know you have a career of coaching already started with QB Velocity, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But just how is that? These are guys you used to play with. Yeah. We were teammates last year, and now you're coaching me, and it's a different, power shift, a little bit of a different balance, and just speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think it's been a smooth transition where I feel like for me as a player, I always try to almost be like a coach on the field, especially as a quarterback. That's how you want to kind of be and strive for, is to be kind of a coach on the field and be that leader. So I feel like it's been a smooth transition for sure, and it's also coaching receivers is different for me from playing quarterback my whole life, but it's also a good fit where as a quarterback, I know where these receivers got to be. I know how I want their routes ran, all that stuff. So it's been an overall smooth transition. I've already been able to learn a ton in my first year as a GA, so it's been good so far.
That's awesome. And one of the other things too that I always think is important when it comes to being a quarterback, like you said, and whenever you're interacting with receivers, obviously quarterbacks and receivers, they interact with each other a lot.
Oh yeah.
And in my own experiences too, just being a player now, it happened to me a couple days ago, and I was explaining to some receivers, okay, look, you got to run the drag at this depth, and this guy's got to run at this, and they were asking questions and stuff. Well, what about the linebacker and all that? I said, well, you got to think about the whole play. A lot of receivers, they just think about, well, my route is a post or whatever, and this is what I've got to end up. Yeah, but if you think about, and I heard you say it too, this is why I'm even mentioning it, because you said it about 5 minutes after me when you came by again, and I was like, oh, okay, well, me and Mike are on the same page at least. Because you had then said, well, you got to think about the whole play as a concept, because if this guy's not open, somebody else is going to be. So when you can start teaching receivers to think like quarterbacks and starts making them read the field before the snap even happens, okay, what's the coverage? What's my release going to be off the line before the play even starts? How about, things like that? You can kind of start to see the the wheels turning in the heads of these receivers, and they start thinking, oh, okay, well, if I'm not going to be the guy that's open, somebody else is going to open it up. And, I just got to be patient.
Exactly.
The biggest thing for receivers, I always think, is patience, because there's only one ball,
100%. That's especially the college level. That's the big difference with playing receivers. It's about understanding concept, understanding space, and that's what the receivers I had, Hunter Ferreira, Jake Wood, and Tony Martinoli. Those guys were so good at just getting open, find open spaces, and we were always on the same page, which I was very fortunate to be able to have guys on the same page.
John?
Honestly, I agree with you, and I think you've had a historic career. Again, a winner in high school, a winner in college. If you didn't know, he graduated number 1 in completions at Nichols. He graduated number 1 in completion percentage and number 2 in passing yards and 2 in passing touchdowns for a career. Again, great Nichols guy. He's currently a GA coaching the wide receivers, but John, there's more to this guy because he's got something else going
more to
on.
this. Yes,
so why
John.
don't you get into that?
This guy might be my boss in the next couple of months. I might be coming to work with Mike and QB Velocity.
Might be in my wedding.
Right.
Just saying about somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, look, Mike, when it comes down to it, you've got a great opportunity, a great business started with I believe it's your father, right?
Yeah.
QB Velocity, and why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about what that is, first of all, and how that is really going to transcend in your coaching career and how that's going to grow with you in the future.
Yeah, for sure. So, QB Velocity, me and my dad are the co-founders. We're the partners for the company. And for QB Velocity, this is about heading into year 3 now, and we've been able to do a lot of great things, and we our main focus is development of athletes. We work with any athletes between ages 7 to 23, all different ages, levels, high school, college, youth, of course. So that's our main thing, is developing athletes through personal training, through clinics. And also off the field too, we always like to kind of be that mentor for athletes. So, I think that's a huge part in athletes' journeys, to be able to have mentors throughout their life, and that's one of the main things that we really like to provide for athletes.
Is there any big picture things that you have in the future that, with QB Velocity or Slinging It, the podcast with QB Velocity, that you kind of see in the future? I know you had mentioned some things before the show and kind of some turns that you might be taking, for some further developments.
Yeah, so our growth at this point has already been pretty fantastic. From year to year, month to month, we've been growing like crazy, and it's been a lot of fun. Being able to expand on different locations. We're in Eastern Mass, Central Mass. We're in New Hampshire, Maine. I've had Connecticut, Rhode Island kids. So really all over New England we're currently in, and one of the goals is to keep expanding throughout the country and possibly internationally too. We'd love to get QB Velocity a little bit in Europe and different
sick.
Countries.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
How is that coaching with your father? And does he also do the podcast with you too?
He does not do the podcast with me right now. My co-host is actually my roommate from Mount Ida College. But working with my dad is great. He was my kind of quarterbacks coach, and he's coached for a lot of my sports growing up. So we work together very smoothly, and it works perfectly. Where he's my partner, and I got to trust him. So obviously I'm gonna trust my dad, and he trusts me. So it works out perfect.
That's awesome.
Working with them.
It's got to be a really great experience.
Exactly. Plus, it's an awesome way for us to stay in touch as a family. We're always talking every single day, and kind of keeps building our relationship as well. So
yeah, that's awesome. Honestly, just staying close to family and constantly being in touch. But I do want to talk about one last thing. I know we're coming up at the end of our show here. Is how does this start? What's going through your head? I remember meeting you in the fitness center and asking you. I kind of want to give the viewers kind of the idea in your mind what was happening around this time, why you wanted to do this, why with your father. Why don't you just give a little background of the company?
Yeah. So we wanted to start QB Velocity. Someone originally kind of asked my dad if he did any quarterback training and kind of what he did for me as a quarterback growing up. So we started off kind of just doing some like free stuff, free clinics, free sessions, and then after that we were like, no, we can really make this. We can make this a business, and so we started around my sophomore year of college. We got it started then. It started off kind of slow at that point, and after that we were really able to start to build it up, especially now that I'm not playing in college. I'm able to devote a ton of time and energy into it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Right,
Truly an amazing
some really
story.
exciting stuff. Now, the last things last before we go, and close out the show. What's next? Not for QB Velocity, not for Michael Pina, the football player, but Michael Pina, the coach. Because once the GA is up here at Nichols, what do you have in store for the future?
It's a good question.
Oh, okay, that's it.
He's looking at us like,
I don't know.
No, that's a good question. I still have a little more time left here at Nichols, but I've given it a little bit of thought. I'm not exactly sure at this point what I want to do. I've looked at some international options where I can go be a player as well as a coach. So,
okay.
And I can also coach some of the youth teams while I'm over there playing as well. But eventually I do want to be an offensive coordinator, whether it's high school, college, and eventually a head coach for a program at some point. So we'll kind of see where it goes. Like I said, kind of those are my couple ideas right now. But we'll kind of see once my time here at Nichols is up. Could possibly stay here too. You never know. So we'll kind of see what that future holds.
we're young, John.
Yeah,
So,
I know. I'm
no,
just
we're all
wondering,
young.
okay, well, where you feel like you want to be next, and I was kind of more curious to know like what you were feeling for coaching, like being an offensive coordinator, and what you were thinking. So I'm glad to know that that's what you got in store. And look, man, I'm really excited to see where you go with it, and continue to keep us posted. I'm sure we'll have you back on the show again. And once again, anybody that doesn't know better know now. Pay attention to QB Velocity.
Yes.
And Slinging It. Make sure you pay attention to the podcast. Slinging It with QB Velocity. Michael, if there's any social medias or anything like that you'd like to plug, now would be the opportunity to do so. So please go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Stay up with us on QB Velocity, at QB Velocity on every platform. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. We're on everything. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everything.
And that's pretty easy because it's the same for all of them.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah, why don't you plug it one more time and then everybody should know.
At
Yep.
QB Velocity.
At QB Velocity, and if you're looking for a podcast on different podcast platforms, just type in Slinging It and it will pop up.
That's awesome. Well, before we go, I'll take this opportunity to plug our social media platforms as well. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Jon_Jon Radio. That's a capital J, a capital J, and a capital R. Please don't forget it. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Jon&Jon Sports Radio Show here on 97.5 WNRC. With that, please enjoy the rest of your weekend. I cannot wait for what we have in store. Once again, this is March. You're listening to the Jon&Jon Sports Radio Show here.
Hell yeah.
Breathe me out.
Yes,
I don't